Welcome back to the Community Well podcast. It is your host, Ana Tivisaye Biojo. I'm so excited, y'all. Another week, another episode. Y'all already know over and over. I'm excited every week. I might have to get a different word because I'm just excited, but I really am. Like, I really mean it. And this season, we've been having some difficult conversations. We've been talking about social wellness and spiritual health and really growing and developing. And y'all know, I told y'all, we're pressing in because there's some things that God wants us to get rid of, let go of, so that we can really live a full life. But we're family, so I know y'all have been doing this with me and rocking with me. So this episode, I'm so excited. We're talking about career, occupational wellness, all things purpose. We're talking about from being a kingdom entrepreneur to leaving corporate America and working full time with Jesus. Okay. That comes with a lot. I'm excited for this one. Okay. I'm excited for all of them. I'm excited for this one. And we have none other than Destiny Thomas, the Prayerpist. Y'all have heard so much about her because I keep talking about her, and now she's finally here. Okay. She's finally here. So you get to meet her and learn a little bit about why I love her so much. So, welcome, Destiny.
Thank you so much for having me. Hello, hello, hello.
Of course. Welcome to the community. Well, this is our little space where we just keep it real and talk about all things Jesus in every dimension that he wants us to so we can, be great. Be great in all things. So, Destiny, if you can just introduce yourself to the people because you're not new to me, but you're new to them. So,
So hello, 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 everyone. My name is Destiny Thomas, but on social media and things like that, I am known as the Prayerpist. I am first a daughter of God, a wife of 14 years, mother of three amazing miracle babies. But in my career or line of work, I am known as the Prayerpist because I assist high achievers with confidently hearing the voice of God to heal internally, to get unstuck, and to avoid self sabotage on their way through elevation. And I do that by way of therapy, one-on-one therapy sessions, by way of my program or accelerator program, Purpose-Filled Prayer, where we rewrite our vision for God's vision through hosting annual prayer retreats, women's prayer retreats, and through my conference. And you guys, I apologize up front. You'll probably hear my little baby. She's one and still likes to be close to mom, if you know what I mean. But yes, that is who I am. And once again, thank you so much, Anna, for this opportunity.
of course. Thanks for saying yes and for coming to bless us. And you already know we have all the babies here, all the kiddos. They just pop in. And, we've even had my son on an actual episode as a guest. So this is a family environment. So we're here for it, for the mamas wanting her mama, because I don't blame her. Okay. She's like, I don't care if you have to speak. I want to be there with you.
That part.
Yeah, that's real. So, let's get started from the beginning. Like, how did the purpose come about? Like, how did, you start tapping into that? And, how did that unfold?
Well, it's so interesting because no, I never thought I would be a therapist. I didn't even know it existed because it didn't, right? So I actually was this all came out of one of the darkest moments of my life known as infertility. I served God my entire life. I got married at 21. My husband and I had, because we were so young, we planned to just travel, enjoy each other, get to know each other, and not have any children for about 3 to 3.5 years. But we got married and we did what married people do. And I ended up getting pregnant, but I unfortunately miscarried. And so with that became this void of, am I broken? Can I not have kids? And my husband's father's deceased, so he's the one to carry the legacy. So it's like I married this man under the pretense he would have children with me eventually, right?
Yeah.
And so I found myself on this infertility journey. And before I even get finished the question, I always like to tell people, if you don't get anything from anything I shared today, get that your words do matter and they don't have a sense of humor. Because I was saying, no, we're gonna wait about 3 to 3.5 years. No, we're gonna wait 3 to 3.5 years because I was just speaking logically from us being 20 something years old and wanting to have fun and enjoy life, but we actually did not have any children to 3 to 3.5 years.
Wow.
It was actually 3.5 to be exact, not three. It was 3.5. And so I do like to remind people of that. But during that journey, I just didn't I realized that I was an entitled Christian, that I kind of treated God like a genie, where I kind of would just ask him for something and he would do it until infertility came. And I was upset with God. I didn't want anything to do with God. And he actually started to reveal to me that there was some deeper inner work that I needed to go through in regards to rejection, abandonment, and loss of identity. And so he began to, and he didn't even begin to. I grew up under the pretense you didn't question God. And so I was like, I got to find a way around this because he's all knowing. He's in control of my womb, but I can't ask him what's going on. Doesn't make sense, right? So because I'm super analytical, super like, there has to be a solution, I got pen and paper and I just started to vent to God and just tell him how upset I was, how angry I was, how just unfair this felt. And about a month and a half to 2 months into it, I felt the unction to start writing GS in the middle of journaling and then continue writing. But I didn't think anything of it. I was like, okay, GS, and then keep writing. And then about a week and a half to 2 weeks into it, I felt an unction to go back and read the entries. And I was like, oh my God, he's talking back to me. This is a thing. Oh my God, right? So me being super, like I said, inquisitive, I was like, oh, so if he's talking back, I can talk to him more about other things and everything than just this.
Mm.
And so, of course, I was like, God, why am I going through infertility? And that's when he gave me the clarity on the abandonment, the rejection, and the loss of identity. And we begin our what is now known as Prayerpist journey. So that's how it started.
Yes, man, it is so like every time I hear it, I'm just like, my God, it's just so powerful. And it's also like this weird, how do I say it? Like this weird feeling because I'm just so grateful for what you do, but the process that you
Mm-hmm.
had to go through and endure to get to that place.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a mixed feeling because I'm like, I'm just so there's something, you fought for that. You pressed
Mm-hmm.
in, like we get to experience the outcome and experience just the greatness that therapy, y'all. She'll give you info later because I highly recommend therapy. But we get to experience everything after, but everything that you had to endure and really commit to growing through it because that dark season really you could have just sat down somewhere and really been in your feelings because that's real. Like going through infertility, I've never experienced it myself, but just hearing everybody's stories and friends that have experienced it is it is devastating, right?
Very much
And
so. Yes.
and you had to face that.
Mm-hmm.
You had to face that. And so your experience came from this dark place. And I'm curious, like, how because some people have been called their business and their ministry and everything will be from that dark place. How do you
Mm-hmm.
press in from that dark place? How do you know this is something I'm pressing into because it's something greater? Like, how do I fight through that? Because a lot of people will stay stuck in the repeated cycles of the darkness because it's hard to press through.
Mm-hmm. I always say in every season, God gives you three things. He gives you people, tools, and resources. But unfortunately, sometimes we use only one, sometimes we use only two, or none of it, right? And what I can say is during that time of infertility, during that time of it being the darkest time of my life, there was always light somewhere.
Mm,
God have giving you a dream of you with children. God giving, sending someone to say, God didn't forget about you. My husband saying, hey, like, do you think it's fair to God that you tell everybody God has blessed you, God has taken care of you, but the minute he doesn't give you what you want when you want it, you immediately turn your back on him, right? You kind of sound like a hypocritical Christian, right? So it was
mm,
those conversations. They were painful to hear in the moment, but it was those people, those tools, and those resources, right? That constantly help you come up out of what is trying to take you out, right? So,
mm,
but it is a decision, right? It's a decision because I did have to get to a point where I was like, okay, Destiny, you've had enough pity parties, you've done enough of this. Like, if you really believe the God you serve, allow him to show you who he really is. And I had to let go of my control and my desire to figure it out on my own because I spent thousands of dollars with the best endocrinologist in the area
mm,
just to feel like they still had no answers. And he kept taking me to First Samuel chapter 1. I believe it's like verse 5 or 6, or maybe even like verse 1, but he says God closed Hannah's womb. He
Mm,
kept taking it to take me to that. And it was a reminder that I couldn't do anything in my own power to open my womb because he was the one in control of it. And so I could
mm,
try to figure it out, but ultimately I wasn't going to do nothing but frustrate myself even more. So that was what I would say. Like in those dark moments, who are those people he is sending to you that may not be telling you what you want to hear,
yeah.
but they are reminding you of the God you know you serve. What are those resources? Like when you're going to church, those sermons you're hearing, those sermons you find yourself on YouTube in the middle of the night, right? Or that reel or TikTok that just encourages you. And it may only encourage you for a good 3 minutes, but it encouraged you. Hold on to those things quicker so that God can pull you up out of it.
So good. So good. And y'all see how everything is connected because 2 weeks ago, was it 2 weeks ago? Y'all know the episode we're talking about social wellness. We had two episodes on social wellness, and we're talking about the people in your life and the people that God has called to your life. And we have certain people in certain spots that don't belong there. And so
Mm-hmm.
this is just a testament to that, that the people that are in your life are vital, that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, God will place people in a season around you for a reason. And if you have the wrong people, you're going to feel stuck, or they're going to give you the wrong advice. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is going to be paramount. And that if you're not pressing into God and you're not really going to God about these things, you're not going to frustrate yourself, and that's going to impact your mental and emotional health. So we see how
Mm-hmm.
everything is connected, and sometimes we think it's like isolated, like this one thing. No, it's like it's all connected, and this is why it's important for us to be doing the work in each of these dimensions and breaking it apart. And so I just love that you said that, because it really spoke to what we've been speaking to over the past few episodes. So I love that so much. Um, I'm wondering how people like will know like what God has called them to. What is their purpose? I know that's a big one. It's like, what is my purpose? And then, what is my career? What is my purpose? Is this supposed to be ministry? Is this supposed to be a business? Like there's a lot of confusion and questions around like, what God is calling people to. I'm curious if you have any advice for people that are, lost in that space.
Um, I would say personally, I feel like a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on that, and it should not be on it as much. It really is truly about just obeying God, and things will unravel in your obedience, right? Because on hindsight, right now that I am where I am, I do realize how when I would be in a grocery store and a random stranger would come up to me and tell me all their business, and I'd be like, why are they telling me this, right? God, that was a way God was preparing me for being the prayerpist, right? Or when I would have conversations with friends and they'd be like, you listen so well and you give such unbiased information. I didn't know that was because the Holy Spirit was operating in me, and I could hear something they're saying and not judge them and just respond off what he was pressing on my heart, but didn't know it was him, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so if we spend too much time trying to figure out, oh, is this part of my purpose? Is this part of my purpose? You'll kind of honestly delay what he's trying to do ultimately because you're not even in motion. The other thing I would say though is that when I was asking God my purpose, he kept testing me in a different area, right? So I was like, God, I'm at this insurance job. I'm in this cubicle. I feel like you called me to more. God, what is my purpose? And every time I prayed that, every time I asked that question, I would always be tested with people pleasing. I was like, maybe he don't understand what I'm asking because, baby, what purpose got to do with people pleasing, right? But little did I know, if I didn't deal with people pleasing, I could never be the prayerpist. I could never tell you what your face may be saying you're not receiving, but ultimately your heart is, right? And so what I will say is when you're asking God for your purpose, when you're asking God, where is this leading to? Where are you being tested? What is he bringing up? What do you need to be focusing on, or what are you missing because you're so focused on it looking a certain way? But in regards to as you're moving in that direction, what do you charge for? What is this? What is that? I would say because God is the creator, you really got to trust him, because I'll never forget when he brought me into this arena, my first PFP class, the very first class, I heard the Lord say, charge $50, right? But I was like, from what I've been taught, what I know about church and ministry, and you don't charge, right? Because I had a picture of what I thought he was telling me to do. I had no idea what this was because I'd never seen it, right? And so he said charge $50, and I was like, okay, God, let's do it. Right. It came time for people to sign up, and I let them sign up for free. Right. We were on the Zoom or the live, and I keep hearing the Lord say, if the foundation isn't set right, it won't be what I'm telling you it'll be. Don't do that. And I mean, I'm like shaking and we're live because this is the first class now, right? We're gonna start it. And it's like so uncomfortable. And I hear him so loud. He said, if the foundation isn't started how I'm telling you to start it, it won't be what I'm telling you it'll be. And so I immediately just stopped and I said, guys, I owe it to you. I owe it to God, and I owe it to me to do this right. I said, I apologize up front if what I'm about to share makes anyone feel like I've, you know, lied to them or baited them. Yeah, but I was like, I owe it to you. I owe it to myself. I owe it to God to do this right. And just because I don't understand what it looks like or what it means doesn't mean I don't do it right. I said, so God's just been completely honest. God told me to start this, to do this, but to charge $50. And if you want to quit, that's fine, but I can't continue to go forward if it's not done the way he's telling me to do it, especially because of what we're saying we're doing, seeking God, coming to God. And literally before I even finished, my PayPal started going off with them paying it. Because my first class was 11 women. I think it was like 10 or 11 women. So my PayPal started going off, and I'm just crying. And they're like, Destiny, we honor you for being obedient. We honor you for being honest. But that's what it looks like, right? I didn't know what this was. I thought we were doing ministry 1 minute, and he's like, no, it's this, right? So I feel like when we try to box it in or put a title on it too soon, we end up kind of hurting ourselves even more, because now we are looking for people, or we're looking for a blueprint to follow that doesn't really exist because he's doing something new.
My God.
So yeah.
My God. Nah. Y'all know I keep it all the way real, because this is hitting me all the way every time. I'm like, Jesus, because y'all know your girl likes to know A, B, C, D, E. I need a blueprint. And so I'm constantly, and Destiny knows this, and the people know this, I'm always like, I'm gonna obey you, God. And also, you made me this way. Like, why can't you just tell me, like, what are we doing here? What is the blueprint? And trying to figure out the puzzle pieces, and like, how do I put this together? And I just love that, from the very beginning, it's like unlearning a lot of what religion and the world teaches, right? Because it's like, you can't question God, and you need to have a business plan, 5-year projection, and like, you're going on Shark Tank. Like, what, like, you got to present this thing. And it's like, no, you just have to obey God and be very mindful. Like, what I hear you saying is, like, you have to be very in the moment and very present as to what God is doing, because you're asking him questions. He's presenting things that you now have to do the work in. It may not look like, because you were talking about people pleasing, and you're like, huh? But there's stuff in front of you that he's giving you. Okay, you're gonna work on this because he knows what he's calling you to, and you just have to trust him. You just have to trust him and obeying him no matter what, because Sway, you got 11 people, 10, 11 people on this platform, and now you have to stop and be like, I'm going to obey God. Because I can't ignore, I sense the pressing, I sense him telling me to do this, and I have to do this. I bet you were sweating. And maybe that was me. I'd be sweating. I'd be like, Jesus.
Sweating, crying, shaking, like, oh my God, what did I do?
All the things. And you had to stop and obey God. And obey God. And then I also heard you saying that you followed what God told you to do, even though you didn't understand. Like, you thought it was ministry at first. And being okay with the fact that you're stepping out and not having a label per se, that you can't even really explain it, that you may look crazy to people.
That part.
Constantly.
Constantly.
Especially family or people close to you, because they're just, but what are you doing? But what do you do? And you're like, oh, just out here following Jesus. Like, what? Doing what God told me to do, and being okay. And so then that's that different aspect of work where you have to be like, okay, where do I have to dig deeper with the people pleasing? Where do I have to dig deeper with caring what people you know, care about me or what they say about me.
Yeah. Yeah. Because for me, so I learned prayer obviously through my infertility journey, but it was just for me. It was something for me. Like, me and God was talking, he was giving me details, telling me how to maneuver at work, telling me, but and so then October 2017, well, the beginning of that year, he kept saying, this year is going to shift in ways you didn't imagine. You hear that from God, you're like, yes, God, right? So he's saying, this is going to be an amazing year. I'm going to be taking you places. You're just like, okay, God. So then we get to about August, September. And I keep hearing him say, I'm preparing you. I'm preparing you. I'm preparing you for the greatest faith walk of your life. You can do this. Like, he's encouraging you, right? Like, what's so wild is I just learned a couple of days ago that my favorite verse, which is Jeremiah 29:11, God gave them that verse. That was the word they got from the Lord right before they went into 17 years of bondage, basically, right? And we hear that scripture, God knows the plan. I have a purpose in it, right? And we're like, oh, yes, God, yes, God. But you don't understand, he was giving them that as a foundation for one of the hardest 70 years. Please don't misquote me on that, but years of their life, right? Yeah. And so now, looking hindsight, that's what he was doing to me. He's giving me all these amazing words, like, I have a vision for you. You're walking into the greatest walk. He kept saying, you're gonna introduce and reintroduce my children to me in ways they never know, and they're gonna be able to hear me. This is what he's saying. And I'm like, first of all, how am I gonna do all that in this cubicle? This is what I'm thinking. I'm literally saying this to God, right? But I'm like, okay, God. And in the beginning of that year coming in, I always have like affirmations and vision board things, and I wrote on my wall, I'm going to introduce 100 people to Christ. And I was like, where did that come from? Because I can't do that at this job. They don't even let you hardly read your Bible. Okay, listen, talk about it. So I'm like, where did that come from? But okay, God, I'm gonna put it up there because I felt it, I heard it. And so we get to October 2017, and now it's getting loud. It's like, and so, like, so loud where I literally started locking myself. No. So loud that I was like, okay, it's happening right now. What he's saying, he's preparing me for it now. And one day I went to work, and as I was driving to work, and I've never struggled from anxiety, from what I hear people say, like, where it's like literally kind of debilitating you at a point.
Yeah.
But anxiety fell on me in the car in a way that I never experienced in my life. And I just kept hearing, you can't go back. You can't go back. You can't go back. And I'm like, go back where, baby? Because I got to clock in about a good 30 minutes. Like, what you talking about? So I'm driving to work, and I get to the job, and it's heightening. Like, you cannot go back. You go, like, to the point, and I was literally about to get in the parking lot of the job. And as I'm driving, like, these thoughts came to my head of like, run off the road instead of going there, like these crazy thoughts. I'm like, what is going on, right? So I push through, I get in the building, and it's like my heart's palpitating. So I'm like, I'm gonna call today a L, and I'm gonna just tell my supervisor I'm about to here, okay?
Right.
So I leave. Literally, as I walk out the building, it goes away. So I'm like, what is that? So I kept hearing, you're not coming back here. You're not coming back here. You're not coming back here. So the next day, I brushed myself up. I'm like, we're going to try this again. Okay. Same thing happened. And before I get down the street of my job, I heard the Lord say, call your doctor and go see the doctor. So I'm like, what is this? But the day before, because I went to God about it, I was like, God, what is this? I kept hearing 10-11, 10-11. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, I'm looking up scripture, like 10-11, 10-11, nothing. And I call my doctor on the way to work, and I'm like, hey, something's going on. So I need to be seen today because I missed work. I said, I'll just let you know, because my doctor had worked with me through infertility, everything. She was my PCP. So I go to her, and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. And she's like, yeah, we might have to, you might have to go see a psychiatrist, right? For medicine. She said, but that's not, I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like your time is up at this job. You know that we've had to put you on prescriptions for headaches and migraines, and you're too young to have to go through all this. I think your time is up. As she said, so what I will do is I'm going to write you out of work until the end of October. But before the end of October comes, you need to make a decision of what you're going to do. She said, because if you have to take medication or go see someone to go to a job, you don't need to be there, right? The day she signed for it to start was October the 11th. So I heard 10, 11. I said, oh, we on to something, right? So that is what happened. And from that moment on, I literally was in the closet for 4 or 5 hours a day. Like, God, what is going on? Baby, I went through infertility and I spent a lot of money and got in a lot of debt, baby. What you talking about? I ain't going back. Like, what we doing? But ultimately, he took me out and I never went back. But I thought I was gonna get another job and ain't no the job ain't come, right? So from there, he led me to do live prayer on Facebook. So that's why I thought it was gonna be ministry, because the next thing instruction I got was to pray for people on social media. And I know you don't charge for prayer, you don't like. And from that, people started reaching out, asking me to teach them how to hear from God the way I do on live prayer. I was like, I can't really teach you that. And he was like, but you can. You got to teach them what I taught you during infertility. So that is how that all happened. And why I was like, but that's why you don't want to box them in, because I'm going from leaving my job to going on live prayer. But live prayer was honestly because he kept saying, I need you to be more vulnerable, authentic, and honest. And that took the strengths off of me of trying to cover up everything and be something I wasn't, because infertility taught me that. I literally was dying on the inside, but fixing it up to look so pretty, because I had everything that people say you need. You got a house, you got a husband, you got this, but I don't have what I'm desiring from God, a baby, right? And so that's why you don't want to assume what it's supposed to look like. You don't want to be too focused on, well, should it look like this? Should it be pretty like this? No, God, I'm just obeying you because I know you are the creator, you are the author, and you already have the book finished. Not me. I just need to finish. Just need to write chapter 1. Let's stay on the introduction, actually, because we ain't even start there.
My God, Destiny, I'm telling you, I'm always like, every time I hear the story, because it's just so powerful, and God is so in the details. And sometimes we want to know all the details ahead of time, and we're missing the details right in front of us.
That part.
Or, we're trying to make up our own thing, or, like, had you pushed through all those feelings and that anxiety, like, it's just crazy to me. I'm like, oh, so God, and so good. So you make it seem a little easy though. Like, it's like, I felt it and I heard it, and I'm like, I'm wondering about the people that don't know, when it's God, or like, because I've sensed those things that you're talking about, where you're like, oh, this is not even normal. Like, I know this is something that's God, but then there's sometimes that it's just like a quiet voice, and you're like, is that God? So like, for the people that are in a job that God has given them, they're like, I'm preparing you, and you're going to go into ministry, you're going to go into full-time entrepreneurship, but it's like the not yet, but they're so over their job. And some people leave prematurely. Like, how can they be sure that it's their time? Like, I'm sure it's probably like you, that you're getting signs and stuff like that, but maybe they're missing it. Just any advice to
no. Let's be clear. The reason why I was so confident that it was God this time is because I utterly disobeyed him before. Right? So I cried and begged God for a child. God gave me my son KJ. And when I was pregnant with KJ, before I even had him, God said, once you have him, you're to go back to that job part-time. Right? And I was like, bet, let's go. I'm okay with that. Get me up out of here, right? But I said, and it was so clear, because I said, well, God, I'm the one who carries my family for medical insurance, because my husband's job, they don't offer it, or they offer it, but you got to pay some astronomical prices. And so I was like, so what are we going to do? Literally, my son was born February of 2015. January of 2015, my job wrote out full benefits for part-time employees. So it was crystal clear, right? But there was this position that I wanted at work for. I probably applied for this job, no exaggeration, probably 6 or 7 times. Every time I applied, they were like, oh, you have the credentials, but this person just had one thing over you. Oh, this, like, it was just every time. And that usually is a clear sign God don't want you to have it, but we just ignore it. We're like, this calling me.
That part, right?
So I come back to work. I already have spoken to my supervisor and my manager about going part-time. They're like, oh yeah, we just need this from your doctor, da da da. So they're literally in the process of approving it. I come back to work, log in. I see that position is hiring again, right? I exit out. I said, baby, that ain't for me because I'm going part-time. I'm getting up out of here, okay? Ignored it, went back to work. The hiring manager for the position comes to my desk. And she says, Destiny, I know you're just coming back from maternity leave. So I figured you hadn't seen it, but we're hiring for this position again. And I wanted to make sure you saw it because we know we need you now. We know we should have just hired you before, but we need you now. She said, and I said, oh, I have no intentions of applying for it because I'm going part-time. She said, no. She said, I want you so bad for the position, I won't even make you interview for it. I'll just give it to you. And on top of that, because I know you have a new baby at home, I'll let you pick your schedule. So you can come in as early as 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. and be able to leave before 5 o'clock traffic, right? Like, I mean, she's selling this thing, okay? So I'm like, oh, this gotta be God. Maybe that's why he wanted me to go part-time so that, they could come to me. You're doing, because listen, we gotta be honest. There's a lot of things like, God bless me with this car, and you paying $800 a month on the car payment. God, like, what's that me or was that you? Like, no offense to anybody who's doing it, but sometimes that ain't God, okay?
Right.
So I'm like, this has to be God. And the whole time, once again, but at this time, I'm not as confident in my ability to hear the voice of God. I feel it, but remember, infertility was just a hop, skip, and a jump away because I'm just getting pregnant and just having a baby, right? Mm-hmm. So I hear the voice like, that's not what I'm telling you to do. That's not what I'm telling you to do. And I'm like, well, look, I'm going to keep my full pay, and I'm off of these phones, and I'm getting to pick my schedule. Baby, this thing seems like a win-win-win-win-win, okay? And I lied to you not. I took that position and I cried to work every single day. The lady that I was one of my peers that I had to work with told me she was doing witchcraft on me. She said something about your spirit don't sit with my spirit, and my ancestors told me that your spirit is light or something like that. So yeah, like the same person who came to my desk and hired me for the position, I had to end up taking her to HR for integrity and for creating a fake write-up on me that she said that she met with me and I was in Disney World the day she put on the date. And that's the only thing that protected me, right? Everybody was like, no, she said she put you on a warning. So, we have to take these certain actions. And I'm like, I've never been on a warning. I've never been in trouble at work. Like, what are you talking about? And they pull my file, and there's a warning in there that she has written up saying she spoke to me, she sat with me, and we discussed this. My name is on it written. And so I'm like, God, how do I get out of this? Because it's basically my word against hers. It's not, we don't record this stuff. We're, in a public office. If she's saying she met with me, it's her word against mine. And the date kept, and now I know now what I do when God highlights something or it illuminates, that's God saying, hey, look here. So the date kept highlighting, and I'm like, something about this date. So I'm looking on my work calendar, and I'm like, well, it doesn't say anything here. And I looked at my personal calendar, and I was like, how did she meet with me? I was in Florida. I was at Disney World. I got the tickets. I got the pictures. We were in Disney World for my son's birthday. She didn't meet with Destiny Thomas. Now, maybe a different Destiny, but not me. But because she had put that in my file and I did not know, I was applying to new positions, and I would get through the interview, I would get through the training, the testing, and then it will always come to the point where they requested my file, and they would come back and say, hey, we couldn't choose you. Nobody was telling me why, but it was because she put that I was written up. So so I took that position, didn't obey God, and I saw the repercussions of not obeying him. So even though I felt crazy, this was literally my husband's words. He said, listen, this sounds absolutely crazy, but I know you don't play about when you say you hear from God. And on that and that alone, I'll say, go ahead. That literally was what he said. So I don't fully have my husband's backing other than, hey, I'm gonna let you do it, but it sounds crazy, right? I wasn't like confident in every move. Literally, the day he told me to write my resignation letter to go bring it to the job, because I was still on leave, and I was writing, I was like, okay, God, because he wouldn't tell me when I was gonna quit. I'm just on this leave that the doctor put me on. And that morning he said, your leave date is October 27th, I believe it was. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense because I got to give them 2 weeks notice. Like, I'm still trying to figure it all out. And he's like, Destiny, just trust me, write the letter. And I get a call from the doctor the day before, and she's like, hey, we have a problem. They're saying your FMLA is going to exhaust. So the last day you have is October 27th. Like, you got to tell them something by that day. And she said, so what are you going to do? I said, nothing. You just gave me my answer. So my supervisor's calling me saying, hey, did you hear you got to come back tomorrow? I said, I'm actually on my way to give my resignation. So I wasn't confident necessarily in what I was hearing, but I knew that before, when I leaned too much on consciousness and it needing to make sense, I made the wrong choice. So I had to try something different to get a different result.
That part. Listen. And that's the walking by faith part, because it's like you're making these moves by faith, because this is what I sense God is saying. And God will bless that. It's like, you don't have to, like, is it him? Is it not? Like, God will bless that. Like, I think this is what you want me to say, as opposed to this makes sense. This is logical, because everything that is good, it can even be great, but it ain't God. Okay. Like, and you will get tested, and you have to make those decisions and not count it as a bad thing when you have, like, it's like, man, I disobeyed, I went through these consequences. No, you learn from it, you grow from it. And listen, those stay with me. Like, unfortunately, I'm one of those people that I could read a thing, but when I experience it, that stays with me. And that's all you have to do. Just keep it with you, not beat yourself up about it, not, feel any type of anything. You repent and you keep it moving. Okay. Because you learn, I bet you learned from that. Like, you being disobedient, you were like, what on God's green earth is happening with this woman? And like the witchcraft, I mean, that's a lot.
It was. Like, and that's just telling part of the story. It was very clear I had tapped into some demonic stuff I shouldn't have been in. And he's like, I tried to tell you, don't go there, but you wanted that job so bad. Okay. So bad. So that is a question we should pose to ourselves. Like, are you sure you haven't made an idol what you think God's telling you to do? Right? Because I was like, oh, this got to be God. Because no, you just want that job. You just think it's gonna, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, and my favorite saying is, you have to be willing to get it wrong with God to get it right with God. We have made this culture of, well, what if it's not God? What if I get it wrong? And one thing God said is, Destiny, but what if it is me? You're in disobedience. And so, as most people know, me and God have this thing called the cheeseburger method, right? Where I was in prayer and God was like, Destiny, you have to trust me as much as you trust your taste buds. And I was like, what? He's like, if you want a cheeseburger today, you don't need the confirmation 8 times. You don't need to ask anybody. You're going to just go get it. And so with me, if you believe it's me, even a minuscule amount, as small as your taste buds, go forth. Go forth and know that I'm graceful enough, merciful enough, and just enough. Graceful enough to catch you if you fall, merciful enough to reroute you, and just enough to give you a parachute if you go ahead of me, right? But I need you to be in motion for me to meet you. So I honor your intention to obey me. So if you're saying, I'm really quitting this job because I think this is God, he's not going to just leave you high and dry. That's the parental wound, or not fitting in, or rejection wound that tells you God's gonna leave you and forsake you, when his word says everything opposite of that. So you just have to go forth. And the reality is, what I sat back and asked myself was, Destiny, you did this your way for 28 years. And do you have some amazing accomplishments? Do you have some amazing things that came from it? Absolutely. But can you say you are fully at peace and don't have fear that it can be taken from you at any moment? So let me go and try his way. Okay. I done gave 28 of mine. Well, we had a little seesaw situation. I think he was in there a little bit. But let me go and commit the rest to him.
Yeah.
Right. They used to say to us in network marketing, like, you commit 10 years to a 9-to-5 business, but you come and do this for a year and say it's not working. Like, give us the same energy you gave that job, right? Give entrepreneurship the same energy you gave that boss, right? So
that part. That part. Listen, y'all, that cheeseburger method freed me, because I went from being someone that's like, I'm just out here, I'm gonna do all the things and obey God. And then, as I grew in my relationship and also experienced trauma, because this is where
Mhm.
we have to do healing, because it's not only, we have a lot of our parent wounds and stuff like that, but then we also have lifing and stuff that hits you hard. I hit a place where I was doubting everything because I
Mhm.
mishandled the season. So when I was saying earlier that you got to forgive yourself and all that, is because I learned that the hard way, right? I hit the ground hard and I was like, what am I gonna do? And that's when I started prayer, and that, because I was so stuck. I was like, I mishandled that, and like now I'm overthinking everything. And I went from being
Mhm.
so free and obeying God, I didn't care how crazy I looked, to overthinking everything and being stuck,
Mhm.
just sitting there with my thoughts. I think that's God. To wake up the next day, maybe I should, because I being so stuck. And then that cheeseburger method, I was like, I mean, boom, so free. So I hope y'all grab that, because that literally is everything. It's like, okay, I want a cheeseburger. Boom, you go get it. You're not calling 1,000. I mean, some people are like extra and they're like, I'll read the reviews of 1,000 places, but still, but still, it's like, just take the steps, take the leap, and God will catch you.
Mhm.
God will catch you. So now we talked about so much, and I feel like, I don't know, I'm gonna throw that out there. We might need a part two, Destiny, but for the people that are like, that they took the leap of faith and
Mhm.
now they're in entrepreneurship, we know that it's not easy, especially because when your boss is God and not everybody is of the faith, you look crazy. Bills
Mhm.
are coming in. You're
Mhm.
getting tested in the area of like, are you going to trust me that I can provide for you? And you just continue to be obedient, because sometimes the money isn't coming in the same way. You start
Mhm.
doubting that. Like people that want to quit. I don't know if you also have your own experience of when you wanted to quit, because it's not only the money that
Yesterday? Yesterday, are you
yesterday,
there? Yesterday, are you
literally
there?
this morning. When you want to quit, because it's the warfare. It is, the things that in the spirit and the vision that God has given you, but then the real life, just like, what I signed up for. So any advice or any experience that you want to share from, wanting to quit, or you know
There's a lot that I could share there. Um, but what I would focus on is, you know, I'll use the example of marriage, right? You meet people and they're like, "Yeah, God told me this is my husband. That's my husband." And then you get married to the one that you said that God said that's your husband, and things start to look a little crazy. And now you like, "Oh, I shouldn't be dealing with this. I need to get up out of here." And I'm not saying no abuse or nothing like that. I'm just saying like they not acting right in your eyes or whatever, and you're like, "Oh, I got to get up out of here." And unfortunately, we do the same thing with a lot of things that we say God told us to do or God gave us, right? You know, but in reality, are you repackaging the blessing that you said God gave you and giving it back? Is that what you're doing? So that would be my first thing. Yes, this is hard because I don't have any entrepreneurs before me. I definitely don't have any kingdom entrepreneurs before me. And so it is a lot of faith, a lot of I hear this, I got to trust it enough to go forth. But sometimes you get to that point where you're like, okay, God, we've been doing this for X amount of years. Where you at? You said, look, I got all these promises on my wall, but where they at? Um, but I do remind myself of that every day. Like, God, I'm not giving my kids back because they acting out. I can't take them back to the hospital and say, here you go. I ain't giving my husband back because we might have a spat one day. Like, so I'm not going to give this back either. Right. But I will also say it's really, really important to obey God in every season. And what I mean by that is there were seasons in the beginning where I desired community. I desired to have the money to pay for a coach. I desired these things, but God was cultivating me in his own time, in my own space with him. But I was trying to rush out of those seasons, right? Or those seasons where he did give me community. And I'm like, I actually want to be alone. I don't want all these opinions. And I like, because in the beginning, when you don't have the clients yet, that is when God is processing you. That is when God is testing you. That is when God gives you one cell and wants to see how you celebrate the one cell before he gives the 1,000. And a lot of times we're so focused on forward moving that we don't learn what we're supposed to learn, which is why we end up burnt out or weary, when things are starting to happen. Like every season I go through at year 7, I've been through at year 1. It's just a little heavier, right? But I already have all the tools necessary to maneuver them. But it's like, am I going to obey God here when I hear him say, hey, it's time to let somebody go, the same swiftness I had when he said it was time to take them on? Am I going to obey God when I hear him say, hey, you did make the X amount of dollars today, but don't use that money. I need you to put that money away, when you are so accustomed to not having money for so long that you're like, but I deserve to buy me a cheeseburger or some crab legs. So it's really like, I'm not going to say you're never going to have those moments, but it's learning how to have less of those moments, really. I would also say community is really important. It is very important. But I do want to say this: when I say community is important, being sure to take the community to God and get his expectation on what it looks like. Like I said, in those seasons where it was just me and God, he may not have given me the money to work with a coach, but there were certain people he had me binging their content, but executing, not just having a folder full of master classes, but actually implementing. Like you saying you want me to give you money to work with this person, but the free content they're giving you, you're not even doing anything with it. Okay, you telling me you just gonna waste the money I'm gonna give you to pay them. That's what you're telling me, right? And so it really is about being very intentional about this being an assignment and a ministry from God. Yes, you may receive funds from it, and it may be a for-profit in regards to the law and legalities, but everything we do is ministry. That's what I would say.
Everything we do is ministry.
Well, I would also add, like, I have this rule in business, that when I do have hard moments, right? Moments, like I said, it wasn't really yesterday, it was like last week though, right? Where I'm like, God, this is a lot. Like, like I feel like I come out of one thing and something is hitting me on my head and taking me back under before I got to catch my breath, right? So what I've given myself, and because this is who God is, God sent Jesus on earth to be human and God at the same time, because he wanted to empathize with our humanity. And so I give myself what is called 24 hours of humanity, right? And I lay down in the floor and I scream and I holler and I kick and I be like, God, this is not fair. Why is this happening to me? Why do I feel like you're not covering me? Why do I feel like you let this bill be late? Why? Like, whatever it is I'm feeling, I give it to him. Now, I do go into that knowing that I'm still going to come out and my answer is still yes. So no matter what I'm feeling, even if the enemy tries to creep in and say, see, that's why you should quit, I've already made up my mind. My answer is still yes. I'm just giving this to my Father, because it's when I wave my white flag that he comes in and has an invitation to be who he is, which is the great I am, right? Okay. So I will say that, because I think sometimes when kingdom entrepreneurs get this question, we focus so much on, how to be strong in it, how to get through it, but we don't be honest enough to say, no, we have those moments. Yeah. Right? Something I was just watching the other day was, I want you to be reminded that I am just as human as you are. It's just my lay down isn't as long as yours, right? Because my trust in God may be a little bit stronger than yours, right? Because I've gotten up quicker, right? So I've failed more times than you. That's why my trust is different, because he's been able to show up for me more often. But no, I get down and I cry and I scream and I say, this isn't fair. One thing I say to God when I have those human days, I'm like, God, I just want to be human. I'm only 35. I'm not old enough to deal with this, right? That's one thing I say to him. And he probably up there like, have your 24 hours. Just make sure you get back up tomorrow. Like, I love you, baby. It's okay. You're going to be all right. But no, I have those days, but I understand that this is bigger than me. And when you lay down and when you quit, you're saying, I'm selfish and I want it to be comfortable for me. And the last thing I would say is, when you are in those moments, I would encourage you to do an exercise that God gave me years ago. And I promise you, it shook me to my core. That's why I can't stop. I said, God, show me the faces of everyone Show me the faces of everyone you called me to that I won't reach if I quit. And it's so amazing because asking that question, he will literally show you the faces of people. So when you encounter them, when they sign up for your program, when they come for your retreat, you're like, gosh, we're doing it, So that is what will keep you going. So yeah.
Oh, that's so powerful. That's another one. I'm gonna take that one too, like I took the cheeseburger method. Because listen, you just need those little things. Because when your feelings are feeling, especially if you're a major feeler, baby, you'll stay there in your feelings for so long. And I think about like all these other instances, even like the gym. You stop working out, you stop going to the gym, and the longer I don't know who that is.
I think it's my time to
Me.
go.
And we're done. End Zoom. But it's like you're like, I'm gonna start Monday, I'm gonna start next week, or like when you want to start a diet, you know what I mean? And it's like the faster you pop back, it don't matter if it's a Tuesday meal prep, it don't matter if it's a Wednesday, get up, pop up faster. And that is something that I am growing through because it's hard when we do the work that we do when you're coaching and you're doing a therapy and stuff like that. You can't be behind the screen doing deliverables. We're face to face with people, and that can be really difficult. You're taking on so much. And so, the feelings sometimes it's just like I can't even like I just want to sit right here. But I love that aspect of allowing yourself to be human, because I think the other part where we get stuck too is that we don't allow ourselves to be human, or maybe we give ourselves 15 minutes and you're not really letting the things come up and you're not being vulnerable with God. Like he don't already know. So you're like, I'm just going to hide it from myself. I'm going to hide it from him, and I'm just going to keep pushing through. And then you're like, you hit a wall. And so then it is like harder to pop back up because you
Yeah.
hit it and
Because
you
now that stuff
stuffed
has
it.
piled up and it's literally sinking you. Like it's like
Yes.
having a block attached to you while you're in the water. Like you're trying to come up, but it's constantly pulling you back down because God's like, there's an elephant on this table that we're not touching.
God. My God. Literally what it is. And then sometimes we add the layer of different things that makes us feel comfortable. Like I'm just gonna binge watch and consume the TikTok and the Netflix, and the Netflix is like, are you still watching? And it's like, and his rest is okay, but you know better. You know the things that you're like, I just want to eat all the bad foods that just makes me feel good and keep pushing through. You know what I mean? And it's like, just pause. Allow yourself to be human and feel the feels. Go to God, lay it all out. And I love that. I have to be better about giving myself 24 hours, because I might give myself, because it's like, who got 24 hours? I got stuff to do. But you're not gonna be
But
able to
what you
do
but
things.
what I started realizing, because that was me, God, we got 24 hours. I got to keep going. But what I realized is when I don't give myself 24 hours, I would end up getting sick and be sick down for a week. I would end up, because my body is like, you have over capacity me. I need a release and you're not releasing me. So baby, we gonna sweat it out with this fever then. All right. We go, okay, listen. Right. So would you rather me take 24 or 7?
Hello.
7 days. Like,
Right.
which one do
Right.
you choose? So I did have to learn that because I was raised by a single mother for the majority of my life. She's now married and happy and all those things. But for the majority of my life, she was a single independent woman. Like if she don't go to work, we don't eat. So she had to figure, I'm going to work sick. I'm going to work, tired. I'm going to work. Like, so that was how I operated for a really long time. Like, don't give me no excuse of why your baby was crying last night. You still should have got it done. Like, and I do still have those, moments where I'm like, that sounds kind of excusable. But okay. But the Lord had to show me, like, but when I'm calling you to rest, when I'm telling you, because when your emotions are really high, God is tapping you on the shoulder. Like, what are you feeling, daughter? Come to me. Or he'll even have somebody call you like, God placed you on my heart today. And you be like, I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. And God's like, how about you come see me? And I'll tell you why they're reaching out. So yeah, but it's definitely necessary because and also I learned that when I have those 24-hour moments, they allow me to stay authentic.
Yeah.
They allow me to stay relatable. They allow me to not get to a point in leadership that unfortunately a lot of leaders have gotten, where you're so desensitized from the member who's still struggling. Because it's showing me my struggle may not look like yours, but the feelings that come up from my struggle are the same feelings that come up in your struggle towards God.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it's my lack of trust that I'm like, you're not showing up, you're not doing this, you're not, and that's the same thing. But you're not trusting God with your addiction. I may not be trusting God with my feelings. Like, so it's similar, but I've learned that our vulnerability or our lack of vulnerability is what has caused the church and leaders in the church to now be suffering so much in silence, that now all of this stuff is coming to the forefront of things they were operating in and doing that nobody in the church knew about. But that's because they created a image that they can't fall, and they were making the audience feel like you're so bad. Not everybody, but we know who we talking about, right? And so now when you had a hard moment, you couldn't even come and be honest, because now that would be you looking weak.
Mm.
But the Bible says it's in our weakness that he is strong. So if you're not having weak moments, baby, where's God?
Or do you want people to see you as God? Well, this Zoom got real. It been real. Listen, Destiny, you just blessed. Y'all know I'm gonna have to replay this one over and over and over again, especially on those days where, baby, this gets rough out here. But man, thank you so much, Destiny, for pouring into the well, keeping it all the way real with us, and helping us navigate these feelings and just giving us practical things, because we needed it and we need it. Like, there are a lot of people that are just stuck and not doing the things that God called them to because they're afraid of getting it wrong, or feeling like they're called to, ministry, entrepreneurship. And again, not having, because a lot of us are curse breakers. We don't have people that are showing an example, or even that we can go talk to, like, what did you do? So this is our community, and I love that you poured into the well. So thank you so much. And just think about that part too, because
You know how to reach me. I'm available.
I appreciate you. Where can the people find you if they want to work with you and continue to consume your content? Give us all the handles.
I always say, if you search me on any platform under Realizing Destiny or The Prayerpist, I'll come up, and literally under either, because I have two social medias for everything. But if you go to realizingdestiny.com, that is the house of The Prayerpist, where you can get all the details about retreats and everything like that.
And y'all, be sure to take advantage. Sign up for all things Prayerpist related. Because I love it there. So thank you again. I appreciate you. Y'all, be sure to subscribe if you're watching the video. Be sure to be part of the actual community, and 5-star, leave the reviews, y'all. I need y'all to leave the reviews. Y'all know how algorithmy stuff works. So help your girl out so that we can continue to grow our community. I love y'all so much. I'll see you next week. Bye, y'all.